Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Taking Over. I am, of course, OLED Ed Fries, and I'm joined by nobody this week because unfortunately our special guest Amanda Savage was unable to attend as she is feeling under the weather. We hope you feel better soon, Amanda, and we hope to have you on another episode real soon. Astrid, of course, on assignment this week. She is unavailable to be here, so I'm here by myself, talking all of this fantastic professional wrestling with you. We got Zach Minger in the chat saying Happy National Pumpkin Cheesecake Day. Cheesecake is terrible. Pumpkin anything is terrible. This is a terrible day, obviously. Happy now. That's essential LSS. That's just rude, Bobby. If I could ban a moderator from the chat, I would ban you from the chat. Also, I'm doing just fine. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I am doing well. I'm here to talk about our great friends at Dreamwave Professional Wrestling. We've covered Dreamwave before with the Hands Were Dealt show, where all of the matches were done with drawing cards from a deck, which I thought was really fun and interesting. And here we've got, she may not be here on screen, but she is at least here. Hello, Miss Astrid. Hope you are enjoying the wonderful vacation in a very nice warm place while I'm sitting here in 40, 50 degree weather, freezing my Rastafarian nays off. If any of you know that reference, I want you to put it in the chat. I want to see how many people can get that one. Anyways, we're here to talk about Dreamwave. Again, we talked about them before. And guess what? We're going to talk about them again in the future because they've already started getting their show for As Good as Gold for the December show going. But as good as Gold looks like it might be, I think the Uprising show the next day or during that weekend is going to be even better because we got a Dreamwave Women's Championship match featuring Shayna Baszler. We also have Izzy Moreno back on the card. We also have Lainey Luck back on the card. All kinds of fantastic talent are already announced for the Uprising show in December. So I'm very excited that may be an episode. If not both me and Astrid, I may cover separately on my own as just an episode because that looks like a card I want to talk about. But let's get to Dreamwave Trick or Treat. And indeed, this show was a bit of a trick and a bit of a treat all in one. We start by finding out that Gage Bright and Kyle Fields are on the call from Luz the Grotto in Peru, Illinois. If this had been R-Truth doing this show, he would have gone to Peru, not in Illinois, just gone to Peru and had missed the show and said, his bad. But anyways, our opening contest is Stephen Wolf taking on Christian Rose for the #1 contendership to the alternative title here in Dreamwave. I like both these guys. When we talked about them before, I thought that I needed a little bit more from Christian Rose, and I got all of that and more tonight. We've got our good friend, I'm assuming the Oga Lord is on the Our Local Establishment chat. We greatly appreciate it. We got Perry Pro Wrestling checking us out. And make sure you check them out. If you're in the area, in the Saskatoon area, make sure you check them out and check them out every Saturday on their YouTube channel. But this week, the great El Assassino finally gets his one-on-one title opportunity against that Michael Allen Richard Clark, indeed, inside of a solid steel cage. It's going to be fantastic. El Assassino is going to get that world championship that he so deserves and that Munson has been keeping him away from. And yes, it's Munson's fault. It's all Munson's fault. Speaking of people being kept away from a title, if you listen to Kyle Fields on the commentary of this match, you would think that Stephen Wolf is being kept away from this title by everybody and anybody. But we'll get to that at the end of this match. I like this. I like this a lot. Rose uses his size to really get an early advantage on Stephen Wolf during this match. And then as we get through, Stephen Wolf gets an opportunity and gets one good chop block in. And from there, the match is set. The bigger guy is getting beaten up by the slightly smaller guy, and the slightly smaller guy is going ahead and utilizing one key body part to go ahead and tear down for the rest of the match. And I love when somebody works over a body part because it just makes the match so much more easy to enjoy and easy to understand. And that's what Stephen Wolf did here. Fantastic work there by Stephen Wolf throughout this match. Again, Christian Rose constantly going for the big, heavy moves, going for the big stuff, continuing to make it feel like nothing's going to stop him, even though at every turn, it seemed like that leg was giving out and he was causing him problems and he wasn't able to do all the things he wanted to do in this match. But we're going to move to the end where Stephen Wolf gets a visual pin, but because Christian Rose had charged at Stephen Wolf, who Stephen Wolf was in front of the referee dove outside the ring through the ropes into the floor. And when Christian Rose stopped, Stephen Wolf rolled him up for a 3 count. He actually rolled him up for a 5 count, but the referee was still on the outside trying to get his wits about him to get back in. By the time he does get back in and makes the count, Christian Rose kicks out. Stephen Wolf is upset. Rose then hits his F5 GTS, and I love this. It's like a spin into a GTS. Really, really fun stuff. Reminds me a bit of Dijak, and then it made me want to see Christian Rose versus Donovan Dijak, because Dijak's on this card later on in the night. But he gets the big win. Christian Rose is going to be challenging at As Good as Gold for the alternative title, which apparently is the one thing that Christian Rose hasn't won in Dreamwave. So I think that's a very cool idea. It's a very good thing. And it seems like it'll be a really good match, as we'll talk about later on, who will be entering As Good as Gold as the alternative champion, because that was on the line here. But this is where we go back to Kyle Fields. And again, I love me a heel commentator. That being said, Kyle Fields kind of goes off the deep end on a semi-regular basis. Kyle Fields, to me, goes Pat McAfee levels of annoying. And I say that because Pat McAfee, to me, is one of the best and worst announcers in professional wrestling right now. He is great because he brings an energy and a vibrance and a feel to this commentary booth that very few have the ability to have. He brings that fan energy to the booth. At the same time, that over-exuberance that he brings to the booth can work against him because of the fact that it leads him down roads he shouldn't go. At the beginning of this match, we had Kyle Fields referencing the Bill Clinton sex scandal with the cigar that Christian Rose came to the ring with. Later on in the show, we have him confusing Santana Jackson for Michael Jackson, and he proceeds to give all the elements of Michael Jackson's life, which is a bit weird considering we're supposed to be living in a world where this is a Michael Jackson impersonator. And again, it just all of it kind of goes a little overboard at times. But at other times, Kyle Fields is one of the really great commentators that you need to listen to. He does a really good job providing the color commentary. He does a really good job of telling the story of what they're doing. I'm always on two sides with Kyle Fields of every now and then I feel like he goes over the edge, but at the same time, I don't want to take him off commentary because I think he brings so much to the product at the same time. Yes, STG, unfortunately, Amanda is not feeling well, so it is a solo Ed tonight as Astrid is on vacation having some fun, and that stupid emote is still here. But that was only one of a few matches, so let's go on to our next match. Our next match was the Becca's Halloween Ball Extravaganza. So, Becca lays out the rules after giving us an entire performance of On Becca, On God. And while I enjoy that song for maybe a minute and a half, once she hits the full 2.5, 3 minutes that song goes, it becomes way too much. However, we love Becca here. We support Becca here. We are indeed Becca fans here. And I know that if I say too many bad things about Becca, Bobby's going to come into this chat, pull me off of it, and end the show. So I'm going to have to say good things about Becca for a little while too. She does lay out the rules that everyone must dress cute. which is interesting because I'm not sure what Becca was dressed as she was dressed in all black gear. I don't know. Some of the other women in this show did a much better job than Becca as dressing cute. We'll get back to that. She also says if you're not invited, you're out, which is interesting. Entries come every 2 minutes, and you can't win the match until everybody is here. What they didn't say is that nobody was also eliminated, because I was assuming it was like a battle royal style elimination match. No, it was a one fall to a finish match with a handful of competitors and a couple of comedy spots in the way. I appreciate you holding your tongue when referencing the greatest international pop artist of all time. No, we'll talk about Taylor Swift in a bit, because Val Capone, actually, we can talk about it now. Val Capone was dressed in her best Life of a Showgirl outfit. Chef's Kiss Val was a great costume. I'm not putting that horrible comment up, Bobby, because it is both inflammatory and incorrect. And you know, here at our local establishment, we strive for the facts and not this terrible opinion stuff that you have right down there. So we'll leave that comment slide. Becca is a wonderful performer, but she is not the Mexican Devil El Asesino levels of great. But I will heap immense praise on Becca later in the show. So this match starts. I'm going to run through all of the competitors, and I'm going to run through some of the spots and things that stood out to me during this match. So the competitors in this match were Becca, who started the match, Marcus Mathers, Shaza McKenzie. I never thought on taking over I would say this name. I figured I would say it on Ring Respect Radio. Bushwhacker Luke. Yep, you did not misunderstand that one. Bushwhacker Luke of the WWF Bushwhackers was here for a moment. We'll talk about that in a bit. We also had Jordan Cross, Coco Beware, again, another name that I figured I'd be saying on a Thursday and not on a Tuesday, but Coco Beware. We also had Megan Bain, Fallon Gray, Bobby Orlando, Laney Luck, Amina Belmont, and Luther. I can neither confirm nor deny if this is the Luther that was in AEW. All I can say is this man was very tall, very big, and gave me a match that I need to see. And we'll talk about that in a bit because it is in my notes. So, spots in this match that I really enjoyed. Becca, at one point while in the ring with Marcus Mathers, does the Johnny Cage spot where she does a split and then punches right up into his groin. Love that. Fantastic job, Becca. Great. Bushwhacker Luke then tries to enter number 3, and he is Shaza McKenzie comes out number 3. Bushwhacker Luke tries to enter at number 4. Becca runs him down, saying that she can't have him here. At the photo she sent, that she was sent from his team, must have been from years ago. She doesn't like the look of him. He's out. We move on. We get Jordan Cross coming out. A few minutes later, Coco Beware comes out. Coco Beware tries to enter this match. And in the weirdest moment of the show, and there are some contenders for this, Coco Beware goes on a bit of a rant where he talks about if Jordan Cross and Becca had ever been spanked. And then he looks directly at Becca and says, "I'll spank your ass right here and now." I didn't love that coming from 60-plus-year-old WWF legend and Hall of Famer Coco Beware. I thought that was a bit odd for terminology. I understood the point he was saying about the young generation needing to get their ass beat. I understand the ideology. I think it would have stuck better if he would have kept directing it all at Jordan Cross and less at the lady who was trying to keep him out of it, Becca. That being said, Coco Beware never gets to enter the match. He is walked out by Shaza McKenzie, who leaves the match and never returns, which is odd, but we'll let it be. Later on in the match, as people are coming in and out, we get Fallon Gray coming out dressed as Miss Incredible, which is just fantastic. Really, really love that. Bobby Orlando came out dressed as a goat because he is the goatiest of all times. He was dressed as his son, Bobby Jr., which I thought was really, really fun. At one point during this match, Fallon Gray does a pedigree on the apron to one of the competitors. And then Laney Luck comes out there to toss out Fallon Gray to the floor. And then Marcus Mathers does a flip over the top rope, grabbing Laney Luck, and then doing a pile driver to Laney Luck on the outside of the ring, on the floor. It was a fantastic thing. Really, really enjoyed that. Finally, after Luther gets in the ring, we have a stare down as Luther's destroying everybody between Luther and Megan Bayne. And I need that match now because it's one thing when Megan Bayne is bigger than all of the women competitors in the match. That's expected. We know Megan Bayne is a bit of a big lass. What I didn't realize is how big she is because Luther felt big. And then Megan Bayne was standing there eye to eye with him. I now want to see that match. I think that would be fun. That'll be great. We then get into kind of finisher spam, everybody hitting big moves, everybody doing this, everybody doing that, until the point where Becca hits the 450 on Cross to get the win. And the prize for this match was indeed whichever competitor won, they would be entered into their gender-specific championship match on this show. So if a man had won, they would have been entered into the Channing Thomas versus Connor Hopkins main event. And with Becca winning here, she was added to the Gabby Forza versus Maggie Lee Dreamwave Women's Championship match, which will take place in just a little bit. Again, thought the match was good. There were some iffy spots to it. I do think it took too long. There was too much comedy stuff going on, not enough wrestling stuff going on. The gauntlet style to a one fall finish was a little awkward and I didn't love it, but I loved a lot of the things that were in here. I still want to see a more Amina Belmont. I think she's at the top of one of my list of the ones to watch in this show. She's not at the top because at the top of that match is indeed Fallon Gray. We didn't see enough out of her at the last Dreamwave show, but at this one we did. I'm sold. I want more Fallon Gray. I think she is absolutely sensational. So hopefully we get more of her. Let's see. We got Bobby and STG going at it. We strive for facts, which is why El Asesino was screwed by the booking committee for ages. To which Bobby says El Asesino is a victim of his own actions. I stand by the actual booking committee's decision. And see, Munson, those statements right there is why you got super kicked in the face and why El Asesino compared you to a tub of Jell-O when he was on your show on Thursday. So just remember that, Bobby, that you bring on all of these things yourself when you say these asinine things about El Asesino, like there was the correct decision to do things like that. Which confirmed Munson's on the booking committee, which Munson is not on the booking committee, although his statements, as El Asesino stated, his statements on social media, his statements on this network here are things that the booking committee sees and takes seriously in the decision-making process that they do. So SCG, while you are incorrect that he is on the booking committee, he does have an influence over them by putting out the public face of what the public is thinking. I mean, I won't say you're an influencer on the indies. I'll say you're an influencer on Prairie Pro Wrestling. By the way, at one of these days, Munson, me and Ashley are going to go ahead and review Prairie Pro Wrestling. Potentially, if our Lord and Savior El Asesino wins this match, it might very well be this show. We got Math Champion, Ed, all by your lonesome. I am indeed. This is great. You can finally speak your mind without getting interrupted. Trust me, there are a great many things that I can do on this channel. one of the things that I can't say that I don't get to do is speak my mind. I may be interrupted here or there, but one thing I can say is that I always speak my mind. Hell, there's even a graphic for when I have to speak my mind on things that people don't like. It has to be updated for the new style of the show. But we do have the old editorial graphic here for when I want to go on a rant. But Math Champion, thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Hopefully I won't misconstrue any of your jokes this week. We're going to move on to our next matches. And the match I don't have a ton of notes on, so we're not going to be able to talk a ton about it, but I do want to mention it because I watched this show twice. And every time I watched this show, I kept getting sucked into the match and forgot to take notes. The Hype came out to take on and challenge for the new champions, Bang and Matthews. If you remember our last Dreamwave show, me and Ashley talked about how Bang and Matthews took on CPA and Bobby Orlando and how much we enjoyed all four of them, but we needed to see more of Bang and Matthews. I was very excited to get to see more of them here, and they did not disappoint once again. Once again, Bang and Matthews were spectacular. I do want to shout out as my second place who to watch on this show of people I wasn't familiar with, The Hype. 12 gauge, G-A-U-I-G-E, 12 gauge, and Holton Holdcraft are absolutely sensational. These guys have a fantastic gimmick where they come out with the protein powder and the energy drink powder during their entrance, and they kind of blow it like the Triple H thing. That was really good. The other thing I want to talk about is the incredible tag team wrestling here. These guys are tag teams that have been together a while, and you can tell just from the way they do the things they do. There was lots of double teams here. There was a great spot where you had the Hype give German suplexes to Bang and Matthews, and then the Hype did a double kip up, and then Bang and Matthews got up and did double German suplex the Hype and did a double kip up, and then the Hype got back up, and Bang and Matthews did a simultaneous switcheroo, and then did another double German suplex. I mean, it was a sensational set of spots, but as cool as all that was, it wasn't as cool as the finish, which was Bang and Matthews retaining the championships after they got a hot tag. They put Davey Bang on the top rope. Matthews went ahead and grabbed him, and they did a roll from the top rope onto the ring mat into a diving spear, and then Davey Matthews did a crossbody off the ropes onto the outside, onto the other member of the Hype, and Matthews got the pin. It was chef's kiss. It was the best pin finish setup in the entire show. I need to see more of the Hype. And great, we're going to, as good as gold, there's now going to be a 4-way for the tag team championships with 2 other teams being in there, along with the Hype and Bang and Matthews. It's going to be great. Very excited for this. I love this match. It wasn't my match of the night, believe it or not. It was up there, but the second half of this card really started to get into some really good stuff. There was some really great, interesting things going on. So I really enjoyed that. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Math Champion. And of course, saying hello to your good friend STG, who you guys will have found on the great channel Get the Tables, which if you're looking for any kind of AEW watch along and some WWE watch alongs as well, go ahead and support our good friend Tony at Get the Tables right here on Twitch. You can go ahead and catch all of their watch alongs and then go ahead and find your favorite reactor to see what you thought of the show and talk to people about it, as well as making sure that you're watching the Hive Media to go ahead and watch our own Empress of our local establishment, Peggy, as she talks AEW every week with Jamie from Perio Magazine, who again is a friend of the channel, who we greatly adore. So make sure you're checking out all of that great content for all of your AEW watching needs, as well as other watching needs. We're going to move on to our next match, which is Brittany Brooks versus Rebecca J. Scott. This is the only match on the show where both competitors were dressed up for Halloween. We had Brittany Brooks coming out with three little girls who Kyle Fields, again, true or not, kind of felt like he overstepped with a statement here, saying that they're the unclaimed children of talent backstage for Dreamwave Wrestling, which, whether right or wrong, seemed a bit weird to say, but we are where we are. The statement that I heard, I didn't hear it on commentary, but I thought about this because I follow Brittany Brooks on social media, and she is indeed her own biggest cheerleader. So of course she came out dressed like a cheerleader, which is fun and great. We then had Rebecca J. Scott come out, the alternative, the only Dream Uprising alternative champion in the history, and she came out dressed as the Ghostbusters, including the local Ghostbuster troupe with, I'll say, the worst version of Ecto-1 that I've ever seen. And again, no offense to our Rebecca J. Scott on this. She found the local Ghostbusters cosplay people. Unfortunately, they need a better Ecto-1 because it didn't live up to my hype, which is unfortunate. However, this match greatly exceeded it. This match was sensational from beginning to end. These two women may be two of the best. Damn them ghost heads getting it wrong. Like, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but like when I think of Ecto-1, the whole thing is white with the decals. And it was like the station wagon still just looked factory with just like Ghostbusters stuff on it. Bobby, like if that makes any sense. And again, Bobby, you can go on the back end. I recorded this show in the back end, so you can go ahead and watch the show and find out what I'm talking about. But yeah, it just felt a little off. It was weird, but the match itself delivered absolutely. Rebecca J. Scott is one of the best on the indies. I think Brittany Brooks may be the best female independent wrestler out there. She's absolutely one of my favorites. That is a little bit of bias coming from the fact that she comes out to a version of Britney Spears' theme song when she comes out to the ring. But I just think she's ultra talented. I think she's got everything she needs to be a star in this business, and somebody needs to sign her as soon as possible because she is lightning in a bottle. She can get the crowd in the palm of her hand, whether it's a babyface or a heel. Rebecca J. Scott is one of the better technical wrestlers that I've seen in a long time, especially in the female division, in the women's division. She is top notch. She can probably wrestle anybody and anyone in any match. And this match goes back and forth. And I thought at times Brittany Brooks was winning this match. But at the end of the day, she taps out to the winner, the reigning, defending, and only Uprising Alternative Women's Champion, Rebecca J. Scott, as RJS wins with the RNC. Indeed, the rear naked choke. It was sensational. I really love this. Hello, Melball. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. I keep saying us because it's the thing I say. Thank you for joining me tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Ed being off, what's new? Yeah, it's nothing new about Ed finding something a little bit awkward. But no, I go back to, I think these two, and when we get to the other women's match coming up in just a little bit, these 5 women that were in these 2 matches are definitely 5 of the top, I think maybe 10 women on the indies who aren't signed to ID contracts, who aren't signed to a major company being in like NXT or something. Just on the indies, from the things I've seen, I would put all 5 of these women, Maggie Lee, Gabby Forza, Becca, Rebecca J. Scott, and Brittany Brooks in that list. And I think Brittany Brooks is near the top of it, even though she may not be the most skilled out of that list. I think she has everything she needs to be an absolute star. And I really hope that she gets signed by somebody somewhere soon. It is us. It is our local establishment. So we are indeed in this together. I'm not going to break out starting to dance and sing like in High School Musical, but we are in this together, Bobby. That is true. Believe it or not, that was my match of the night, RJS versus Brittany Brooks. It was a sensational match from beginning to end. It's the only match on this show that I went back and watched without watching the whole show again, just to make sure that I could fully enjoy it and see everything I needed to see. Even though I never took a single note during the entire match, other than the introduction and the post and the end of the match. I thought it was great. All right. Speaking of things that are trick and or treat, we indeed have this in our next match where we have Santana Jackson. Yes, the Santana Jackson from MJ Live. The Santana Jackson, the Michael Jackson impersonator and wrestler extraordinaire, taking on Cody Lane for the Dreamwave Alternative Championship. Now, everywhere that I've seen this is billed as a triple threat. The third contestant in this match didn't come out till almost the very end, did very little of actual wrestling, and then caused the finish without factoring in the finish. And that person is indeed the Boogeyman. Yes, WWE's Boogeyman was in this match as well. Sort of. Kind of. I don't know. Anyways, Santana Jackson is my third who to watch. If you haven't seen Santana Jackson actually do the wrestling, it is sensational. He comes out in this match to a very early 90s version of Michael Jackson. He's got the red coat. He's got the shiny, sparkly glove. It's a really interesting version of Michael Jackson. He wrestles and does some of the Michael Jackson stuff. At one point, he does like a moonwalk into like a people's elbow type of thing that he misses. This is fantastic. Midway through the match, a version of the Thriller music happens, and Santana Jackson disappears under the ring, and he does a quick change to come out as a lycanthrope version of the Thriller version of Michael Jackson, which is chef's kiss, one of the best versions of Michael Jackson, because Thriller is indeed the best Michael Jackson song. And again, this is really great. This is really fun. And they have a great match back and forth. Cody Lane is a bigger guy, but he wrestles as... He calls himself a flamingo, which is indeed a choice. He also comes out to Dolly Parton, which is a great choice for an entrance theme. He comes out wearing very country music inspired gear that is black and pink, so it's very Bret Hart-esque in a way. I love Cody Lane. I think Cody Lane does a lot of cool stuff. They call him Cody Coco Lane, which I think is really interesting. He really surprised me in this match, but like obviously, having never seen Santana Jackson, he's the one to watch out of this, because we're going to see more Cody Lane as we continue to cover more Dreamwave. And again, even if we don't cover Dreamwave here, I'm going to continue to watch it because I am an absolute mark for this promotion. I am a Dreamwave fan in every way, shape, or form. I'm hoping to, at some point, when I get the opportunity and the financial income, I'm hoping to start doing some road trips, some of these potential indies that we're covering. Dreamwave is at the top of that list. I know the Queen of the Indies just got a chance after years to be able to go down south to go see action wrestling. Right now, my dream is to go to a Dreamwave Uprising double bill to go ahead and see both of those promotions in Illinois. So there's a whole lot of good fun going on here. Then the Boogeyman comes out, and he's throwing gummy worm bags to the kids, and he's sharing the real worms that he eats with some of the fans ringside. And then he gets in the ring and he does a bit of wrestling, I guess you could say he does. He does some wrestling. And then at the end, he knocks them both down. He baby birds worms into Cody Lane's mouth. Cody Lane, who falls onto Santana Jackson, and the referee counts the 3 with the Boogeyman standing right over them. And Cody Lane retains the Dreamwave Alternative Championship here, which means it'll be Cody Coco Lang taking on Christian Rose at As Good As It Gets. Good as Gold. That's going to be a fantastic match. I'm excited for that match already. We've also got, like I said, the 30-man Good as Gold Rumble match, which the winner will get the briefcase, which was cashed in tonight in our main event, as Channing Thomas is the current As Good as Gold champion, and he cashed that in for his championship match at the in the main event of the show. Again, like I said, I thought this match was really fun and interesting in a lot of parts. However, I definitely wasn't into the Boogeyman stuff. I get the idea, Halloween show, Boogeyman, he's available, but it seemed like all the legend stuff in this were done to bring out the legend. And I kind of, you made us think that they were going to wrestle, and then you took that away from us, and none of them really did wrestle. And I mean, I get it. You have them booked for a meet and greet anyways, do it. I don't know. I think it would have been fun to have had all the legends come out and confront Becca, as opposed to having two of them in the try to get in the match and have her kick them out. And I mean, if you're going to have Boogeyman in this match, I think there are ways to have him wrestle the match with the three of them and just have him take extended absences outside of the ring to do it. But Cody gets the win, and we're on to As Good as Gold. We are now in our last three matches, and these are our triple threat main events. Why do I say it? Because, and remember, I'm not one of these people that there are multiple main events. I really think that there are one main event. But any one of these three matches could have main evented this show, which is why I'm saying it's a three-way main event. Because I think if you had main evented with Gabby Forza versus Maggie Lee versus Becca, that would have made a whole lot of sense. I think if you had main evented with the Buried Alive match that we're going to talk about in a minute with Dijak and Hartenbauer, that would have made a lot of sense. And I think that the main eventing with Channing Thomas versus Connor Hopkins, when we talk about that match, you'll understand why that was the main event. But I think any one of these three matches could have. And that's the kind of wrestling show you want to have. You want to have three matches on a show that all feel like they could have been the main event of the show. In this one, we have the Dreamwave Women's Championship title match between Gabby Forza taking on the champion Maggie Lee, and Becca inserting herself after winning her own Becca's Halloween Gauntlet Invitational extravaganza of sorts, whatever the hell that cockamamie thing was in the beginning of the night. This match, like I said earlier, these three women, plus the two that we talked about earlier, Rebecca J. Scott and Brittany Brooks, are probably five of my favorite women in professional wrestling right now on the indies and probably in professional wrestling, period. I'm not watching a ton of professional wrestling outside of the indies right now. And so I think that it's really shown me the variety of competitors that are still out there and how good the crop of talent is and how good people are that are teaching all these women to be able to have banger matches, whether they're wrestling women, whether they're wrestling men. They're just professional wrestlers out there, and I just love it. Gabby Forza is sensational. She does all the power spots in this match. Maggie Lee, it's so fun to see Maggie Lee outside of the Elegance brand and outside of the Elegance ensemble, and to see her as more of a grunge or like a rocker style. Like in this one, she's wearing like full length pants, and she's not portraying elegance in any way, shape, or form. She's portraying the year-plus long reign of the Dreamwave Women's Champion. She's portraying this immense heel who the fans are all bringing signs that say Maggie Lee sucks in the ring. She did a fantastic job in this match, being the linchpin between the other two, Gabby Forza and Becca, who are both baby faces in this match. Whereas I think a character like Becca could easily be a heel almost anywhere on any night, depending on how the crowd decides to react to her. This match goes back and forth, and is sensational. At one point, Gabby Forza does a suplex with both Becca and Maggie Lee on her shoulders. But the finish comes when Maggie Lee takes Gabby Forza out of the match and knocks her to the outside. And she keeps talking trash with her head through the ropes. And Becca comes out and does a splash onto Maggie Lee and then puts her back in the middle of the ring and hits her 450 for the big win. And Becca is the new Dreamwave Women's Champion, which is going to make Bobby a very happy man. And I believe, if I look here on the thing, let me see here. I think I have this here. Downloads, test. Yes, indeed I do. I'll load the other one while I'm here later. But here you go, Bobby. The first professionally shot photo of your new Dreamwave Women's Champion, Becca. Although Becca didn't get to celebrate for very long because the owner of Dreamwave made his way out while she was celebrating with the crowd and told her that, Becca, it is a congratulations and an honor to have you as our women's champion. But remember, the champion lives a tough life and the champion is always facing challengers. And at Uprising 7 in December, Becca will be challenged in her first defense by Shayna Baszler. I don't know if Becca got the trick or the treat out of this. Like, yeah, she's the Dreamwave Wrestling Women's Champion. Good. Now you get to face Shayna fucking Baszler in your first defense. Yeah. Oh shit is exactly the look that Becca had on her face when she was informed of this challenger for her. That is going to be a must-watch match for me. It is going to be a show that I do. Like I said, if we don't do it for Taking Over, I may very well do something for our local establishment where I cover both shows and I find somebody like a Bobby Munson or some other friends and go ahead and talk about it. But I'm absolutely talking about Dreamwave as Good as Gold and Uprising 7 in the middle or late December once these shows are available, because that sounds like a fantastic match. Congratulations, Becca. Also, poor Becca, because that's going to be one to have. We're now in our semi-main event spot here. We have our Buried Alive match between Dijak and, yes, indeed, on this show, this was indeed a Dijak hijack.
You're watching OLE, and this is a Dijak hijack.
Indeed, it was a Dijak hijack as he took on Hartenbauer. This is coming from a miscommunication during the last show where Dijak and Hartenbauer got the L, and then they started to brawl, and the guy said, look, we're not going to deal with this shit. One of you is getting buried alive. And I was like, ooh, that makes that next show must watch. This is the first time on the Independents that we saw a Buried Alive match. And there's a reason why we don't see Buried Alive matches on any shows other than shows that basically involve The Undertaker. I think Buried Alive is a great concept. However, I don't think it works in practicality. Buried Alive matches don't work in practicality the same way that I think ambulance matches are a bit silly, why I think stretcher matches are a bit silly, and to an extent why I think I Quit matches are a bit silly. Because it continues to bring people to the same thing. So in this match, this is a fun brawl, weapony kind of match where you got two guys who basically disregard the ring and they kind of just brawl with each other through the crowd with some weapons. At one point, one of the highlights is they fight in and around a porta potty, which is great, fun stuff to have when you're doing an outdoor wrestling show at Luz Grotto in Peru, Illinois. Another really high spot in this match for me was when Dijak slammed Hartenbauer onto the skeleton, big, huge, like plastic skeleton that was sitting on the ring entrance, so that, you know, we could go ahead and do the whole spooky gimmick. Like, I like that, but at the same time, I thought it was kind of fun that he did that, and then he took the head and he bashed over his head. And again, I like brawly matches, but again, these matches just kind of all feel kind of samey, whereas it's hard to do anything really interesting and different in a lot of these matches because you're kind of limited by, at the end of it, it all kind of has to end the same way. It's way too over the top today's day and age, not like when kayfabe was a thing, just not believable. Yeah, and the fact that we had less than 2 weeks later Dijak selling the gear that he wore, like he sold the t-shirt and the glasses that he wore for this match on Whatnot, and I tried to buy them on Whatnot, but I unfortunately didn't have the funds to do so. But he was auctioning off the gear, the parts of the gear that he was wearing for this match, and it's like the idea that they're being buried alive now is so different because we know we're going to see Dijak next weekend working somewhere, or we're going to see him at, you know, MLW working with Tom Pescott as one half of the MLW Tag Team Champions. Like, it's just hard to believe that it's a buried alive match. And again, not that we all really believed that Undertaker or Mankind were literally being buried alive and we were never, ever going to see them again. But, like, we believed it a little bit more, and whoever lost kind of stayed off TV for a little while and we kind of forgot about them. And it's just, it just kind of, you know, it does the thing. You do mean I quit as in another excuse for no rules as opposed to a submission match? No. I like the I quit match as a concept of, it's not a submission match, because in a submission match, you're just like giving up in the match. You're just quitting in the match. I like the idea of an I quit match being another level above, where it's an even bigger payoff for a bigger, longer, more meaty feud. I don't want to use the AEW one as an example because I know that they ran into some issues with the Kentucky authorities that oversee professional wrestling and sporting events as such. And they ran into some issues that they weren't able to do some of the things that I think that they wanted to do in that match. And I think that ran them into some problems. But I like the idea of an I quit match in concept of being this thing where it's like, you have to physically say the words I quit. You have to verbally give up. You have to like physically do this thing, as opposed to just tapping out or passing out or things like that. I like the idea of an I quit match being this definitive thing. And I think that they've been done really well in the past. But the more of them that we get, and especially the ones with a microphone, do you quit? Do you quit? Say you quit. You know, where you stick the microphone in the guy's face. Like, it just gets kind of samey. And it's like, we know that it's going to be 20, 30 minutes before anybody really quits. So the first 10, 15 minutes don't really matter. Whereas in a lot of other professional wrestling matches, you never know when the finish is going to be. And so that's why I compare it to like with this Buried Alive match, where I think that there's something definitive about it, where it's like, you can do a great brawly type thing where you can go on the outside and brawl through the crowd and do all this fun stuff. But at the end of the day, we know that it's going to be 10, 15 minutes later that you're going to toss this guy into a grave that's at ringside, and then you're going to shovel some dirt on him and call the match over. Math champion, should we do a loser is forced to get married match now that that's more believable as torture? I mean, let's not downplay marriage. I mean, some marriages are okay, right? Right? Some of it. I mean, Mrs. Munson is a saint. So, I mean, Bobby's not being tortured on a weekly basis. His wife is a saint. I mean, he's torturing her being, you know, her being married to Munson, but No. From your point of view, it's great because your wife is a saint. I'm sure if we asked her the other way around, she may not agree. No, I'm just kidding, Bobby. You know, I'm sure Mrs. Munson loves you deeply. But no, I mean, I think that there are some stipulations that we haven't gone through, but I like the idea of an I Quit match kind of being linked to like a loser leaves town match where you do them very infrequently to the point where it's like a massive deal when it happens. And I feel like a lot of stipulations, she likes you okay, just like us. We like you okay, Bobby. But like I said, this match is good for what it is, but it can only be so good. Hartenbauer goes ahead and spears Dijak into the grave and then puts some dirt on him, and the referee calls the match. And it's good. It's exactly what it needed to be. It was no more, it was no less. I really like both these guys. Dijak is one of my favorites. As everybody here knows, he's a local guy. I've seen him at incredibly various points of his career, whether it be Ring of Honor, whether it be on the indies here with Chaotic Wrestling and other places, whether it be at NXT, WWE, you know, MLW. I've been watching back a lot of the matches that he has with Tom Pescott on MLW. I think Dijak is a great guy. I think Dijak is sensational and deserves so much more than he's getting right now. So it is what it is. This match was good for what it was, but it can only be so good. Speaking of things that were so good, we get to our main event of the evening. Channing Thomas taking on Connor Hopkins for the Dreamwave Championship. And this, right out of the gate, went ahead and told me that we were in for a banger. Thomas goes ahead and attacks Hopkins right after the bell rings, hits him a couple times, and hits his pile driver finish. Gets the 1, gets the 2, and Hopkins's manager, Deus Chain, pulls the referee out, which of course gets Sidney Bacabella involved. The two of them fight a little bit. They both get sent to the back. We'll hear from them later. And then this match just picks up. This is just a sensational match between two guys who just have a chemistry, know what they're going to do, and they tore the house down in my second favorite match of the night. I just prefer Brittany Brooks a little bit better with RJS than I do this match, but this could be either one. And again, it's a potential match of the year candidate for me, but also saying that I haven't seen the Ryan Clancy Marcus Mathers match that just took place at Wrestling Open on Monday night. I've been hearing from everybody that that's potential match of the year. I cannot wait to watch that tomorrow. I'm also going to be watching some Limit Wrestling. But right now, let's get back to this match. There was a sensational sequence in this match where they're both looking for their finish. Connor Hopkins is looking for his double underhook tiger driver, while Channing Thomas is looking for the pile driver. And they go through a segment where it's Channing Thomas, he reverses the double underhook into a setup that ends up with him into a pile driver setup, which then ends up with Hopkins back into his double underhook, which leads to a bridge pin, which leads to a clothesline, which leads to Thomas back in form for another pile driver attempt. It was just 2 or 3 minutes of them doing move, trying to get back to their finish. Do a move, try to get back to their finish. Pinfalls into finish. It was sensational. I loved every bit of it. Deus Chain comes back out and tries to cheat to win. He hits Channing Thomas with the belt, but out comes Sidney Bacabella to pull the referee out so that Hopkins can't get the win. Hopkins then hits his finish. The referee counts 1, 2, Thomas kicks out. At this point, he's had enough. He kicks the referee goes down again. More brawling between all 4 of these guys, both the managers and the wrestlers. And in the end, Channing Thomas comes out with the title belt when he goes ahead and uses it to hit Hopkins in the face after Hopkins pulled the wig off of Sidney Bacabella and knew Dreamwave Men's Champion. It is a new era in Dreamwave Championship, as on loan from the Dallas booking territory himself, Channing Thomas, world class Channing Thomas, is now the Dreamwave champion. I love this match. This match was fantastic from beginning to end. It was about 20-25 minutes. There's a little bit of chaos. There's a little bit of, tomfoolery, but in the end, Thomas gets the win. We have another new champion here, but that's not the end of this. After the match, Hopkins and Days Chain go ahead and attack both Channing Thomas and Sydney Bacabella. Amina Belmont comes out and she goes ahead and attacks Channing Thomas and helps handcuff him to the bottom rope. And then Stephen Wolf comes out to defend Sydney Bacabella because Connor Hopkins had a spike to go ahead and beat the hell out of Sydney Bacabella. But Stephen Wolf turns heel and beats Bacabella with a chair he brought down. They end up using the spike on Bacabella. He's a stuck pig as he's bleeding all over the place. Meanwhile, Channing Thomas is stuck there watching. And the show goes off the air with these three celebrating as Channing Thomas is trying to get to Sydney Bacabella. It is a fantastic ending to a great show. They will be running this match back at As Good as Gold. It's going to be sensational. It's going to be a great match. I'm very excited for this. I like the heel turn of Stephen Wolf at the end of the match. I like bringing out Amina Belmont. The only thing I don't like about the Stephen Wolf thing, and it's a funny thing, is that Stephen Wolf's entrance, he is named the leader of the pack, and now he's a follower in a faction. It just seems like if he's going to be the Wolf, the Stephen Wolf, the leader of the pack, he needs to be the leader of these factions and not just another guy in a Connor Hopkins faction. Otherwise, it's great. Brett, thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate you even just stopping by, paying your respects, and dropping the like. We greatly appreciate it. If you are watching on YouTube and you haven't given it a like, can you please go ahead and give it a like? Give us a subscribe. We get all kinds of fantastic content, whether it's Ring Respect Radio, whether it's Mel's Noah reviews, whether it's Strong Style Fashion with Mel Ball, whether it's us here taking over, or Point of View with me, Andre, and Bobby Munson every Sunday morning. All kinds of great stuff happening here, and other things that pop in and out. We've got Killer Cuts coming out a bunch this month because we're going into that Halloween season. We're doing a whole bunch of shorts where every day some members of the Our Local Establishment team are dropping shorts talking about some of their favorite horror movies. So go ahead and go check out those shorts. And Math Champion, thank you for the 50 bits. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. It is great to have good people like you in our community. Thank you for jumping in these last couple of weeks. We hope that you are having a good time here with us. That, however, was the end of Dreamwave Trick or Treat. And again, if you want to catch Dreamwave, these are the three places you can catch them. You can catch them. Oh, I got to use this hand. You can catch them up here at dreamwavewrestling.com on the internet. On the X, it's DW Wrestling is their Twitter handle. Or if you want to watch their shows, we've got the Indie Wrestling Television, or Independent Wrestling TV is where you can find it. And I'm going to pull up Indie Wrestling TV because of the fact that I love to show this off to anybody and everybody when they're here, because this is the best $10 I spend every month. So we're going to go ahead and hit this button and share my screen. And here we go. Independent Wrestling Television. It's got a main screen where it talks about all the different things that are happening this week on the shows. We've got a live schedule where you can go in and see what shows you can watch live. So from now until the 31st, all of these different shows are available for your single subscription. You can watch any of these shows live. Focus Pro Wrestling, Love Pro Wrestling, ICW No Holds Barred, Wrestling Open, more Wrestling Opens, TWE, all kinds of different promotions. Those are all going to be live. You can watch them whenever you want. You can watch them live as they happen with just your membership. If, however, you're a VOD guy like me, you don't get to catch everything live. They're constantly adding new shows as soon as they get done, as soon as they can get them here. So you've got Wrestling Open from last night with the Ryan Clancy Marcus Mathers match. That's a match of the year contender. You've got, if we keep going, you got all these different. Here's the Action Wrestling show from last weekend. It's already up and ready to go. Here's the Dreamwave show that we're talking about right now. And there are 393 different promotions on here with all kinds of different pro wrestling shows. So if you want to find your favorite promotion that might be on here, you can go in here and just look. You've got all kinds of things like Blitzkrieg, like Beyond Wrestling, ETU, Limitless. All kinds of fantastic people are all here on this. And again, this is all for $10 a month. It is the best money you can spend in independent wrestling other than going to a show live. And that's the other thing I want to say. Support your local independent wrestling. If you're in the Saskatoon area, go ahead and support Bobby Munson and PPW, as Al Assassino is about to be their representative and their world champion. So go ahead and do something like that. If you're out here on the East Coast like me, there are all kinds of fantastic promotions, whether it be Creative Pro, whether it be Wrestle Pro, whether it be, Chaotic, Beyond, Limitless. There are so many different places that it's just so many good things to do. Thank you very much for joining us. Go ahead and put the little one away. This isn't one of those things where if you think it'll happen, it will. Of course it is, Bobby. If we keep putting it out there in the atmosphere, it will indeed happen. Now, she may not be here, but I'm going to go ahead and plug things for Astrid. You can find her on Twitter and Blue Sky at Astrid Bizarro. You can find her on Threads and Instagram at Astrid Bizarro20. And, of course, you can find her on Twitch and YouTube at Astrid Bizarro. If you're watching this on her YouTube channel, either live or after the fact, make sure that you go ahead and give it a like. Go ahead and give her a subscribe. She's on the road to 400 subscribers. So make sure that you go ahead and do all those fun things. Help her get her hours up. And, of course, you can follow all of us here at our local establishment at Ole Podcasts on almost all of your favorite social media platforms. But if you're watching us on YouTube and Twitch, you're following us at our local establishment. If you're watching it on our local establishment's YouTube, make sure you give it a like. Leave us a comment after the fact to tell us what your favorite match of this was. If you go back and watch, you're just listening to what I had to say, what you think of all these matches. Also, we're getting close to the watch hours to be monetized. So if you guys could go ahead and put on a playlist in the background, just let it run throughout your workday or things like that, we would greatly appreciate it. As would be a first level of monetization where you can send in super chats and make me say some pretty stupid shit. If you want to do something like that, get us that monetization level. And of course, you can find me at all the local places right down here. You can find me this week. Nothing. This is it for me this week. You can go ahead and find me next Tuesday night as me and Ashley go ahead and talk about some great, fantastic professional wrestling. As of right now, we don't have a show, but we will have one in the next day or so. Ashley is on vacation right now, so we didn't work out what show is going to be next. And I don't want to just spring a show on her that she doesn't approve of. So I'm going to talk to her and get a show going. But make sure you go ahead and support our friends like Andre C., like Ophelia Payne, the Empress, all kinds of great people who work here at our local establishment or with our local establishment. We love them all. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for joining me on this solo show. Alessino's not walking away with the belt. That is not a promise. It is a spoiler. 1, sir, you are not Paul Heyman. And 2, I have told you and you have promised me that you are not going to get involved in that match. Don't you dare screw El Assassino out of that title. How dare you even think that? But I have been OLED Ed Fries. This would normally be where I'd point to Astrid Bizarro. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. We'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
I am in misery.